Hey, welcome to The Explainer, where we get into some really big ideas. And today, we are diving headfirst into a landmark essay from philosopher Harry Frankfurt called, you guessed it, On Bullshit.
All right, let's just jump right in with a question that kind of gets to the core of this whole thing. What do you think is a bigger enemy of the truth than a simple lie? I mean, most of us, our gut reaction is to say, a lie, right? Of course. But what if there's something else out there? Something, way more corrosive?
As Frankfurt points out, and this is something we all know, right? Bullshit is it's everywhere. We're surrounded by it. And look, let's be honest, we all recognize it when we see it. But here's the crazy part. We never really stop to think about what it actually is. We don't have a solid theory for it. So that's what we're going to do. Let's try to build one.
Okay, so to get our theory off the ground, Frankfurt doesn't go straight for the jugular. Instead, he looks at a close cousin of bullshit, a related concept that'll help us narrow things down.
Yeah, the concept is called humbug. He actually borrows this definition from the philosopher Max Black. And it's all about a deceptive misrepresentation of your own thoughts or feelings. The key part, though, is that it's short of lying. So it's not a lie, but it's definitely not the truth either. It's pretentious.
So think about this. Imagine a politician on the 4th of July giving one of those super over-the-top patriotic speeches. According to Frankfurt, this is a perfect example of humbug. The speaker isn't really lying, but what he cares about is what people think of him. He wants them to see him as a patriot.
Right. The focus isn't on whether the facts he's spouting are true or not. It's all about giving off a certain impression of himself. He wants the crowd to think he's a true patriot. So the deception is about his own character, not about the actual facts.
But Frankfurt thinks, this is insightful, but it's still not the whole picture. It's incomplete. Humbug gets us close, but it doesn't quite capture the unique flavor of bullshit.
So now, let's get to the main event. To really get what bullshit is, we have to look at the liar versus the bullshitter. This is the crucial distinction that really defines the whole concept.
Okay, so Frankfurt uses this amazing anecdote about his colleague, the philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein. A friend of his, Fania Pascal, had just had her tonsils out, and she tells Wittgenstein, "I feel just like a dog that has been run over."
And Wittgenstein's reply is just famously blunt. He says, "You don't know what a dog that has been run over feels like." Now, what's so fascinating here is why he was so disgusted by what she said.
I mean, Pascal isn't lying, right? She obviously feels awful. But her description, she's not concerned at all with whether it's actually true. She has no idea what a run-over dog feels like. She's just indifferent to the truth of her own statement. And that right there, that's the core difference. It's a game, right? And the liar, well, the liar knows the rules. They know what the truth is, and they're actively trying to subvert it. But the bullshitter, they're not even playing the same game. They just ignore the truth completely. It's not part of their calculation.
Frankfurt also tells this story from a novel where a character's father gives him this advice. Never tell a lie when you can bullshit your way through. This kind of suggests a preference, doesn't it? That bullshitting is somehow better or at least easier than lying.
So why would you prefer it? Well, think about it. The liar's focus is really narrow. They're constrained by reality. It's almost like a craft, They have to carefully insert this one fake piece into the real world. The bullshitter, on the other hand, has this panoramic focus. They're totally free from any constraints. Lying is a craft, sure, but bullshitting, that's an art of improvisation.
All right, so we've peeled back a few layers here. We've talked about humbug. We've talked about lying. Now we can finally get to the essence of bullshit itself.
This is absolutely the most critical point. The essence of bullshit is not that it's false. No, sometimes bullshit can even be accidentally true. The real essence is that it's phony.
So here's the definition we've been building towards. Bullshit is a total lack of connection to a concern with truth. It's just an indifference to how things really are.
So you see, the bullshitter's main deception isn't even about the facts of what they're saying. It's about what they're up to. They're hiding their complete and utter lack of concern for the truth. And this brings us full circle right back to the beginning and to why Frankfurt believes this is all so incredibly dangerous, why this is a greater enemy of the truth.
Okay, let's go back to that game analogy. The truth teller and the liar. They're playing on the same board, just on opposite sides. They both acknowledge that truth exists and that it's important. But the bullshitter? They just walk right past the game board. They ignore the rules entirely. And that, right there,
is what makes bullshit a more fundamental threat to the very idea of truth.
So that leaves us with a pretty big question, right? If it's so bad, why is there so much bullshit everywhere?
Well, Frankfurt gives us a few ideas. For one, we're often put in situations where we're expected to have an opinion on things we actually know very little about. Think about the democratic ideal that every citizen has to have a take on everything. That's a lot of pressure. And then there's this cultural shift, where we've gone from valuing correctness to valuing sincerity, where being true to how you feel is seen as more important than being true to how things are.
And that's why, in the end, Frankfurt says this: by virtue of all this, bullshit is a greater enemy of the truth than lies are. A lie is an assault on one particular fact. Bullshit is an assault on the very idea of facts.
So here's the final thought to leave you with. In this world we live in, just flooded with information, is the biggest threat really the stuff that's false? Or is it the stuff that's just phony? The stuff that doesn't care about truth at all?